Joe, trade deadline was on Friday. Some teams made some moves. Was there any move out there that surprised you?
I think the one that probably no one saw coming was the Tulowitzki to Toronto because they had Reyes, who's a very good shortstop, and their leadoff hitter. And it's interesting, Tulo has replaced him and has hit first in their lineup. So it was kind of an interesting deal. So, I mean, that was probably the one I didn't expect.
You have a lot of guys in that lineup that can hit the ball out of the park. How difficult a task is it as a pitcher to get through that lineup?
Well, I mean, you got to make your pitches. You understand that. And it's, we're going to see them a lot. So, our guys look forward to the challenge. And, we have 50-plus games left and 13 against Toronto. So we're going to see them a lot, and we need to play well.
Well, they didn't stop at Tulowitzki. They also got David Price. But I would have to think if you're a New York Yankee, that doesn't bother you too much because you guys have had a lot of success against David Price.
Well, he's a really good pitcher. And they made a lot of moves to improve their club. They added Ben Revere, and they added some bullpen help as well. So we understand, but we feel really good about the team in that clubhouse and the way that we've played and the way we've bounced back after tough losses. And a lot of people say sometimes the best trades are the trades not made. And we've seen clubs in the past that were rolling and make trades, and all of a sudden things aren't the same for whatever reason. So we're pleased with what we got, and we're going to go fight with it.
The Oakland A's come to mind, who went for it, last year and really had nothing to show for it. But you mentioned not making a deal. A lot of fans out there want to say, I can't believe the Yankees didn't make a deal. They didn't make a big splash. But do you think people forget that you guys are leading the division? You've been playing good baseball.
Yeah, and how well we've played in the series that we've been winning and the consistency of the way we've been playing. But I think everyone is always trying to improve your club. And just because the trade deadline has passed, that doesn't mean there's not going to be moves made. There's still another month where moves can be made, in a sense. So, but I like what we have. Yeah, we're dealing with some injuries, but we've dealt with that all year long, and we'll figure it out.
How much does the depth in your minor league system help this year?
Well, they played an important role. As I've said, 13 guys have made their major league debut, and guys will continue. We'll see number 14 next week. So. They have been very helpful.
Well, you did get one guy in Dustin Ackley. However, to get him on the roster, you had to designate Garrett Jones. Yeah. I have to imagine that was a very tough decision.
Well, that was really difficult because I think Garrett had got off to a tough start, was used to playing every day, but it really kind of figured out his role and won some games in Seattle for us. I thought he was a big contributor in Minnesota in some of those wins. But it's hard because you develop a relationship, and he was a clubhouse guy that everyone loved and loved to be around and loved to laugh with him. But it's part of the game, and our guys understand that. And Dustin comes in, and he'll fit right in, and we'll make sure that he's comfortable. But it's hard because we all liked Garrett.
Well, you mentioned Dustin Ackley getting comfortable. He does know some guys in that clubhouse.
Yes.
Played with Brendan Ryan. Not to mention, Adam Warren was a roommate of his in college, and another UNC guy in Andrew Miller. Yeah. So a lot of UNC guys in that clubhouse right now.
Yeah, there is, and they're familiar with him. And Jeff Pentland was there when Dustin is the hitting coach in Seattle when Dustin was there. So there's some familiarity. And so it's good. He'll feel right at home.
How fast will you have him start doing some infield stuff? You had mentioned he'll be your backup first baseman, maybe get a little bit of work at second base, but not right away.
Friday night he took ground balls at first, and we've told him he's got to move around and he's got to be prepared to play anywhere, and he welcomes that challenge.
You look at some other trades that were made while we were in Texas. The Texas Rangers traded for Cole Hamels, a guy that may not help them this year as much as in the future because he's under control for quite some time.
Yeah, and they got a bona fide ace is what they did, and they gave up a lot of prospects. I think they gave up 5 or 6 of their top 25 prospects and maybe 3 of their top 5 to get him. But you're getting a guy that's under control for the next 3 or 4 years, that you have an ace at the top of your rotation. And it should mean a lot to them.
How difficult is that to toe the line, to kind of mortgage your future for the present or for the, not so much with them, but in general? Do we get rid of the prospects and go for it now, or do we keep them and hope they pan out?
I think it's really difficult because of the injury factor. And you're not ever sure exactly how prospects are going to adjust to the major league level. So it's kind of a bet. You're gambling on one side to be really productive, but sometimes it doesn't work. So it's not a job that I have to do, and I'm kind of glad.
Glad you don't have to bother with that. Another team that looks like they are going for it are the Kansas City Royals, getting Johnny Cueto, Ben Zobrist, 2 guys that can really help their team.
Yeah, I think they wanted an ace. They had lost James Shields, who was at the top of their rotation. They've had some injuries into their rotation. So I think they wanted a guy that they felt that could be their number 1, and I think he is. And Ben Zobrist adds a lot of flexibility to that roster. and play some left field with Gordon down. When he gets back, he'll probably move to some second base. And another team that made a lot of moves is the Astros. They went and got 2 starters. They got a right fielder in Gomez, and made a lot of moves. And so it should be interesting.
You bring up the name Carlos Gomez, and I go back to the debacle that happened with the New York Mets. Have you ever seen anything like that?
Yeah, well, I've seen trades nixed because of
medicals or whatever it may be.
Their exchange. But for me, I didn't really play in the time of social media, so things didn't get out. But that's the world we live in, we have to deal with. And it was a pretty emotional day for their young shortstop, which is kind of neat in a sense, but it's kind of not the way you want things to happen. But it just shows you Flores' love for the New York Mets. And as a general manager, you got to say, wow, look how much he loves our club. I mean, that's a good thing that they want to be around. But he had to deal with those emotions, and I guess he got a standing ovation on Friday night when he made a diving play in the first inning. So I'm sure he's happy where he's at.
Signed as a 16-year-old, very happy he's not going anywhere anytime soon. But could you imagine standing out there hearing from the fans that you're going to another place?
I mean, that's tough. That's not how you want to hear it. That's not how it's supposed to be. But unfortunately, that's the world we live in.
Well, the Mets did wind up making a move, and that was getting Yoenis Cespedes right before the deadline. It looks like they're trying to do some things in Queens as well.
Yeah, they are. They get a big bat, put him in left field. They got another, they got Grandy in right field, a big bat, and they're trying to add some offense. They have very good pitching, so I think they're trying to add to that. So they made a good move.
Time will tell how it all pans out.